Living Corporate is brought to you by Textio. Today's top talent is everywhere, representing everyone, and our work environment should reflect the level of inclusion to meet that standard. Textio achieves this in building more equitable company cultures through the language we use in our job postings. That culture is formed one hire at a time, making the words we use to reach more diverse candidates all the more important. Our advanced language insights and employer brand content is what drives our mission of inclusion. Through our industry-leading application of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we're able to widen companies' reach in finding and building upon the very diverse talent that empowers a culture of belonging. Every door should be open to every qualified job seeker. Again, that's Textio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Break Room. We're a podcast focused on Black mental health and improving it in the workplace. My name is Dr. Olajide Bamishigbin. I'm a health psychologist who studies fathers in mental health, and I'm a father of two wonderful boys and married to my beautiful wife. I'll kick it over to you, Dr. Nikki.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Nikki. I am a licensed psychologist with SciPac credentials, which is just a very fancy way of saying I get to do telehealth with folks in private practice across the country in 33 states. And I have a private practice that focuses on Black women and their relational and sexual wellness, as well as folks managing racial stress, racial trauma. And I am happy to be back. I was out for the count for the past couple weeks. Well, 2 weeks ago I had the flu, and let me tell you, listen, get that shot, y'all. Like, oh my God.
Please.
Get that shot. I didn't even have I feel like it just snuck me. Like, I didn't even get a chance to get the shot because my daughter got sick. And I think it's because my immune system has been so pristine, since COVID, like that it took me out. I was out for a whole week. And then even the day we were supposed to record, I still was feeling like I have a lot of congestion, which I still do. I'm sharing all of my health information with y'all. One, to really encourage you to get the shot, because this flu ain't nothing to play with. But also, if you hear my mic drop out, it might be because I'm over here having a little mini cough attack. My lungs are still not very happy with me after having that. But I'm excited to get into today's show. We're gonna sip some tea in a second, but today's show we're going to talk about Coons at Work. I just love that title. And I'm so it's a good one. We really need to have this conversation. But before we do that, we want to talk about the tea a little bit, right, Chide?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into the tea. So we have good news today for this tea. So if you're like myself, or many other Americans across the country, including Dr. Nikki and many other Americans across the country, especially Black Americans, who on one level were lucky enough to attend college, right? You probably have some student loans. You probably have some student loans. Well, we're happy to say that the Biden administration, a few months back, he announced that, hey, I'm going to cancel $10,000 worth of student loans. And I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But the website dropped. You know what I'm saying? The federal education website dropped for you to input your information, your name, your social, whatever information. Do you have loans, right? To get them canceled. So when you get a chance, make sure you sign up for it. To get them loans canceled.
I'm so excited. Now, I don't, my loans have been consolidated, but there's a little piece of my heart that is hoping that at somewhere along the way there is a record of the fact that I did at some point have a Pell Grant, and then I go ahead and get that double dip. If I could get that $20,000 off, man, I am happy. I am happy. Joseph Robinette Biden, with this $10,000 you taking off, I'm not complaining. But if I could get $20,000 taken off, listen, it will be a for sure celebration.
A life changer.
Like legitimately, because I have been paying on my loans forever, and I swear the balance has not changed. Like, maybe the balance has dipped $3,000. I feel like I'm like, where's all this money going? It's an endless pit. So I happen to be
that's the function of student loans. You're not supposed to be able to pay them off. They're the one kind of debt you can't get out through bankruptcy.
It's sort of evil, actually, but I filled out my application like within minutes of the press conference. Like I happened to be
That's right.
watching the news and saw the press conference, and I was like, let me get right to this laptop, the studentaid.gov. I think that's what it is, right? And it took less than 5 minutes for me. Literally, it was like
it's very
easy, which I appreciate them knowing that they needed to make it easy and doing it. So if you have not done that for yourself, go ahead and take time out. You can do it from your phone. Okay. Get that done and treat yourself.
Go get some ice cream after.
Yes. So should we jump in, G-Day?
Yeah. So our topic today is coons at work. Okay. So so before we even get into it, because we've even used the word coons a lot on this show, right?
Yes.
What is a coon?
So I'm so glad you started there. So, I know that the term originated out of the Jim Crow era, and it's really rooted in anti-Blackness. It originated out of this really negative stereotype or the caricature, if you will, or whatever, about sort of a lazy wastrel of a Black man, right? But the term has, in my understanding, has always been used to refer to folks that are what I would call interlopers. They can't be trusted. They're the spooks that sat by the door. So when I use the term coon, first of all, the image of Clarence Thomas always comes up for me. Like
every single time. Every single time.
He is the quintessential coon, right? And the
worst Black person ever.
The idea is that your identity is so rooted in anti-Blackness, internalized anti-Blackness, that you really think the white man's ice water is colder, right? That so much of how you understand your worth, value, what is valuable, what is important and meaningful, what your values are, what you should aspire to, is so rooted in white supremacy and white supremacist ideology that you really engage in lots of mental frameworks, ideologies, beliefs, as well as behaviors that are, what I believe, counter to your own survival, right? So you behave in ways that are counter to your own best racial interests because you are so invested in being aligned with white culture, with white power in the way. So it's efforts at sort of emulating that, trying to live that out, like trying to pretend. Anytime I hear Black people that say, well, it's just about the color of my skin, I get that's first like, that's my first little
strike. That's
strike one. What else you got to say? Let me hear what else, right? So maybe we could even talk about coonness being on a continuum, G-Day, right? The coon continuum.
The continuum. Come on. It was right there.
Right there. And I missed it. Continuum.
The continuum.
First of all, I feel like we should be getting some papers out of the break room with the theories we be dropping here. But
I'm saying the continuum. Yeah,
so if you if there is a continuum, then folks that say, I don't know if I want my kid to go to HBCU. Might be at one point, and then we for sure we got Clarence Thomas as the
Clarence Thomas is
the
King
coon.
He's
at the other end of the
yes
right.
Yes. Yes.
And the reality is, we've had people like this in our racial group, community, however you want to define those social, politically, and economically defined as Black in this country since the enslavement of Africans. Like, part of how the system was able to continue to perpetrate itself was coons was running around telling on people, like being interlopers and helping to undermine rebellions and just all sorts of just tattletales and foolery. So it's not new in any way, shape, or form. And I have some ideas about sort of what the psychology is of that, but I think it's really important for us to just name that, this whole thing of like, not all skin folk is your kinfolk, and particularly what that looks like in the world of work.
So before we get into the topic of coons at work, I want to get into the psychology of it, because I have my own theories on the psychology of it from the coons that I've met in my life. the number one thing I've noticed, they're scared of black people.
Yes.
They're scared of black people.
Yes. There's a genuine fear, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it's really like the deepest level of cognitive dissonance, right? And so that you experience, so we can even sort of look at, you think about it in terms of fear. I can sort of think about it in terms of loathing, but there's really this deep-seated internal animus around blackness, right? So you have really just swallowed all the anti-blackness that exists in our world. And the belief is that if I just wear the right clothes, go to the right schools, befriend the right people, network in the right way, live in the right neighborhood, like all the quote unquote right things, then I can sort of hide, right? You can ignore that I am not like those people, right? And I think it's this real deep-seated self-loathing. You think it's only about fear?
Yeah. I think it's fear. I mean, I think that these people, they don't come out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're socialized in certain ways. They're oftentimes the kids who were the only black kid in class. Mm-hmm. Which on some level, I blame your parents a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they raised you a little bit. Like, they put you in certain environments. Like, I imagine a coon as the most, just imagine, like, the white dude with the Confederate flag hanging on his truck, believes white women are the best, just hates everything related to a black person. A coon is that person, just with black skin.
That's it. Yes.
That
is it.
That's it.
And it's the reason why we wanted to talk about this in the workplace is because they can be some of your worst enemies in the workplace. Like, their behavior can be so particularly toxic. And we all know if you are a black person or a brown person who's associated with your ethnicity, right? If you're in an environment of which there are only a few, I don't know when we learn this or how much of this is just instinctual habit, but you always look for where are the other black people, or where are the other brown people, right? Because you're looking for safety, you're looking for community, you're looking for connection, right? Because there's going to inevitably be some microaggression, some gaslighting, some distorting, some sidelining. Something is going to happen. And so you're looking for who are my people, right? Who can I trust? Who can I like go to and talk about such and such and such and have the real conversation? So I know how to move in the environment, all of those sorts of things. And so when you have folks that are, I just continue to use the word interlopers, right? They look like you, but you can't trust them to serve in your best interest. That is just, it really burns me up, G-Day. Like,
it's super disappointing. It's very disappointing when you meet a black person and you find out that it's like, oh, you're actually not. You're not one of us.
Not one of us. Yes. And why? Like it does, there's a bit of fascination for me in that, my experience growing up was so black, right? Like, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm in the South. I grew up in a all black neighborhood. I didn't go to school. Have I said this story on the break room? I didn't go to school with white people until I was going to middle school. And that's because my mom wanted to put me in magnet programs. And I remember going for like orientation or registration or something like that for middle school and asking my mom, I was like, do you think they're going to like burn a cross in front of my locker or like write like spray paint on my locker? And my mama was like, girl, this is 1988. Like, what you talking about? She was like, no, that's not really how it works anymore. Because that was my only conception of like whiteness, right? It was like danger, was like pure hatred. The KKK, I probably had seen Eyes on the Prize one time too many in Roots. Like, that was how I grew up. And so when I encounter black people, which I didn't really encounter until really graduate school, folks who had not grown up like that, right? That had grown up in suburbs or who were the only one in their neighborhood or whatever, I was just like fascinated. Like, how? Like, how does this come to be? So I get that for some folks, it may be rooted in a sense of survival, right? So if you have not had access to Black culture, Black folks, if you have parents or family that have particularly isolated you for whatever reasons in that way, I think I agree with you too, Jide, that says something about the environment that you are in, the context. But then if there's no way for you to seek that out, then you're as susceptible to stereotypes and anti-Blackness as anyone else, right?
Yep.
And to be clear, we all are, right? We all have some form of internalized racism. We can't get around it, right? But I believe most of us, when we have an affiliation with our Black identity and we are connected to Black liberation, or at least sovereignty or Black political power, however you want to define it, we do a really good job of being aware of what our internalized stuff is and working to sort of check it and not let it get in the way of our own best interests. But then again, we have Exhibit A.
Coons Thomas. You know what I'm saying? It's, yeah. So, my question for you, how do you identify a coon network?
Yes. So one for me, okay, so I have a couple things, and some are kind of superficial, but if I try to connect with you on a personal level and you can't do that, that's sort of my first indication. Like, you look like me, but we don't have any of the same interests, or you have no sort of cultural reference to Blackness in ways that make sense to me, or my understanding, like just some basic things I think you should know as a Black person. That sort of is a indicator for me. I particularly also have wariness around Black people that never code switch, like never code switch. That I'm like, you don't have a extra B, they be doing things, or ain't, you don't have nothing to throw in there. Like, you don't use any.
For me, I categorize it, or I'm able to identify it by a multitude of signs. It's not just one sign for me, because any one Black person from anywhere can have one of these things. I agree. Right? But once you're like married to a white person, right? That's one part. I'm not saying that in and of itself. I want to be clear. Yes. You're married to a white person. You're kind of talk like that, in that way. You talk about Blink 182, but you don't talk about Future. Once all those things start getting together, I question.
Yeah, I'm going to have a heightened sense of vigilance in my communication with you, but particularly in professional settings, what I'm looking for is, do you ever back me up, right? Or do your experiences always align with those white folks or folks that are in quote unquote positions of power, right? The other thing about coons in the workplace, they tend to be kiss asses. They really are sycophants. Always, right? They're always, because it's about getting as close to whiteness in proximity as possible. So there is a little bit of shugging and jiving, right? That sort of happens. So that I also look for that. I just thought about the other guy. I don't even remember his name, but the district attorney in Louisville, Kentucky, that did not prosecute.
Oh yes, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Coon, right there, right? His allegiance to Mitch McConnell and
Daniel Cameron.
Yes.
Daniel Cameron.
Exactly. Right. So that he didn't even do his job with all the evidence that he had. He didn't even do his job because it would have aligned himself against whiteness. It would have aligned himself with Black folks and with Black political power. And that just could not be, right? anytime we start talking about a credit to your race, anytime anybody is saying like, you're not like them or you're not like the rest of them, all of those are indicators for me.
Yep. Surefire sign.
And so because of the sort of psychology of it, right? Whatever this deep-seated internalized self-loathing or fear or both, that often looks like sometimes they can be actually aggressively anti-Black in the workplace, right? So not just that they don't take your side or support you or at least sort of corroborate your experience in the context, but sometimes they might actually try to undermine you actively.
Yep.
Because again, it curries favor for them along those folks that have privilege and power in the space. So we could think of I didn't come here to make friends from The Apprentice. What's her name?
Omarosa.
She on the continuum.
Coon. Yeah.
She's a solid 5.
Yeah. I mean, she worked for the Trump administration.
No, she's a solid 9.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she's up there. She's up there, you know. But she was married to Michael Clark Duncan, so maybe I'll take back a point or two, maybe an 8.
Okay,
7.58. You know, like that counts for something.
We leave her at an
8. Yeah. You know, so I know you said that these people at work tend to be damaging. How? Like in what way specifically? Like how is a coon at work going to damage you as a fellow Black person?
Ugh. I'm trying not to pull from my own personal experiences too much. I don't want to name names, but you know, let me say this part. For me, in the workplace, it has my personal experiences have always been aligned with gendered racist stuff. So I haven't had the experience of having Black women show up in that way in my workspaces. And maybe it's because it's that much more difficult for Black women to have even access to that level of power through our own individual proximity, right? Rather than being married to someone that's white or something like that. But so my experience, sometimes it's hard for me to answer your question because it's been so connected to sort of misogynoir at the same time. But I have had experiences where folks have sort of used my knowledge and expertise about the work setting, the culture, sort of the politics in play, and then said one thing to my face and then in public meetings done something completely different, or actually use the information that I provided to leverage it for their own gain and benefit. And then once in those positions of power, you know, looking at me like I was a ugly stepchild, like, why are you talking to me? Right? So I've had that sort of experience happen before, and even contribute to developing policies, or at least enacting policies that are toxic, I would say, in the workplace, or particularly strident. Right. So I think that's another piece around, you know, how we identify coons. To me, in my experience, it's like this really strict adherence to rules. Right. There's a rigidity. There's a adherence to policy, as like there's no wiggle room. There's no sense of nuance or seeing anything in the gray.
Yeah, I would say in my experience, coons at work, what I found is that they very much try to be hard on you. Like they deliberately seek out Black people to be hard on them in ways that they're not on other people, and they think that they're doing a good thing. Like, well, you know, we gotta be hard on each other. We gotta whatever. But like, relax.
I mean, someone has said that to me almost verbatim. Like, yes, I'm making this difficult for you, but when you succeed, right, when you work 2 times as hard for half the results, you know, whatever, for half the benefit, then you'll really feel like, and I'm like, what kind of logic is that? Like, yes. I would absolutely agree. The other piece that I think is important to add to Jide is that I don't think they have any insight.
Never.
I don't think
they don't know they're scared of black people.
It's so crazy to say that.
They don't know.
I had someone, this was in graduate school. I had this someone, and again, all my personal experiences have been gendered. So it was a black guy, and we had a couple classes together. We were in the same department, but not the same concentration area. And so we were at the gym. I'll never forget this. We were at the gym. I was on the treadmill or the elliptical or something, and he intentionally struck up a conversation with me to then begin to tell me that I was engaging in buffoonery in the class. Like, he was like, you make too many jokes, and the comments that you make are sort of flippant. You look like a buffoon. You kind of look like a character from Martin or something like that. And that's not what this is. So I just wanted to give you some of this feedback so that you can start to work on that a little bit more. And I remember it because...
Is this a classmate?
A whole black man classmate who took... And I remember being mid-conversation going, oh, you actually didn't come over here to have like a connection with me. You really thought you were coming over here to sort of shame me, get me in line. And there was some conversation about, you make the rest of us look bad, right? Some of us have worked really hard to get here. I was like, this is so surreal that I'm having this conversation. And then once he chastised me and said what he had to say, he got off the little elliptical and walked out of the gym. And I was like, wow, I did not see that coming at all.
My jaw's on the floor right now.
Jide is literally speechless. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember, like, it took me a minute to sort of understand what was happening in the conversation. And I was like, oh, you're trying to comfort me. Oh, you don't like yourself. So me being myself makes you really uncomfortable. Got it.
The thing about Coons is they are big on respectability politics.
Yes.
They are huge on the idea of, you're not about to do no stuff and make me look bad.
Yep. Right. Because I'm working real hard to not be associated with you.
Right.
I don't want to be associated with your kind. So when you reflect your kind in this space and they look at me, they think they're going to lump us together. So I have to get you in check so that I can continue to climb the ladder in the way that I need to, or have success in the way that I need to. Ooh, wee. And lastly, Jide, what we should say is...
Go ahead.
If you don't know anybody like this at work or in your life, you might be the coon at work.
It might be you.
It might be you, friend. It might be you.
Like, if you're at work and you have poor relationships with all the other black people, you should stop and question that. I mean, did you watch Insecure? I feel like you didn't watch Insecure.
I didn't. I
right?
watched like the first 3 episodes.
I remember. So there's a character, Molly, who shows up at, this new law firm that has more black people, and she kind of was cooning a little bit. I'm not going to say she was high up on the continuum, We need to coin that. We need to trademark that. But she was kind of behaving in such a way that none of the other black people at her job liked her, It is recoverable, though. Like, if you're able to chill out, oftentimes black people are able to, get you back into the loop, and that's what happened in the show. Like, all right, they was like, you was kind of being a jerk, but we like you now. It's okay.
So, Jide, I think that is part of why I didn't make it through Insecure, because tell me if this is right or not. Some other black woman comes to work in the same firm, but like as a newbie or intern or something like that, and Molly sits down to have this conversation with her
and treats her awfully. Yep.
And I remember I was like, I can't watch this. I don't know where y'all going, but it's too uncomfortable. This is a tangent, but my entertainment can't make me angry. That's not entertaining to me. So when it triggers too much stuff where I'm like, I don't want to sit here and watch stuff that I know that happens, that was really one of the last episodes. Like, I want to see black people winning all the time.
I don't want to watch stuff that I know that like that is.
I have really superficial entertainment requirements, so that was what took me off of the Insecure. But okay, back to the recoverability, right? Like, I think, okay, some people are beyond recovery. Daniel Cameron, you can't ever recover. Like
Clarence Thomas, gone.
No, like, we're not giving you the code to wherever. You're never gonna get the password. Like, you're done. You can never.
No cookout invites
at all. But I think, like, you know, when I have experienced folks who have grown up in predominantly white environments, in suburban environments, or even in parts of the country of which there are fewer black people, but there's this inherent sort of interest in learning more about black culture and wanting, to be accepted, right, in black culture, that creates an opportunity for there to be more recoverability, right? But for me, it's like, you know, to me, at the end of the day, particularly when we're talking about in the workplace, it's like Issa Rae saying, I'm rooting for everybody black. Like, at work, unless the black person is just egregiously incompetent or just way out of pocket, then we all supposed to cut for each other. Like, we should always be looking out for each other.
We have to.
And so if you can't do that, right, then I'm going to always give you a side eye. Like, that's just, I have a really strict sort of moral code around that. That if you're in a position of power as a black person and you never help to sponsor, champion, advocate for black folks in the space, nah, I can't rock with you.
I get it. I feel you. I think that's a great point to end it right there.
That's it.
I can't rock with you. If you're a coon at work, I can't rock with you. That's it.
That is it. You can even be a coon in your personal life, but don't be a coon at work.
Exactly. You could be a coon in your head. You know what I'm saying? All that you can have, whatever thoughts you want in your head. I'm not the thought police, you know, but don't coon behavior. No coon behavior.
Don't coon behavior at work. Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, so let's kick it off to the last nerve. It's yours today.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this last nerve is complicated for me. So I want to talk about this news that broke about 3 weeks ago, where there were some tapes that were leaked from internal conversations among, I think, predominantly Latino folks on the LA City Council, but I think there were also a couple of people of color from other racial ethnic groups. I don't think there were any black people in the space, but I don't think it was all Latino, right? And so the tapes leaked. I wonder what the Latino version of a coon is, because whoever was recording it, they were being recorded without their consent or knowledge, because they would not have said the things that they said. And so a couple of the council members were particularly egregious. The woman, what's her name, Jide? Can you look it up for me?
Nuri Martinez, and she was the head of the council.
Oh, Nuri Martinez, the head of the council.
The city council, for LA City Council. Like, this is a huge city, right? Like Los Angeles.
So a lot of power, right? So she said some egregious anti-black things about one of the white city council members' adopted son. Here's where it's complicated, because if I listened to her, the first part of what she was saying through a racial minority sort of lens, like a racialized lens, there is a certain expectations that people of color have about how our children should behave in public that does not always get reflected in how white parents parent their children. So when I first heard that part, I was like, I see where she's coming from. She's kind of coming from this position of like an auntie, like, boy, you on this float acting a doggone fool. But it's when she began to refer to him as a monkey and then saying that she wanted to take him around the corner and beat his ass that things quickly devolved for me. Right. So now, Nuri, I can't defend what you're saying. Right now, I can't rock with you. Right. You can't stand by that.
She took it too far. She took it
too far. And she took it too far in the first 7 seconds, right? So it only got worse from then on. Here's why it's my last nerve, though. Problematic, yes. Inappropriate, yes. Should people like that have power and a platform? No. But what bothers me is that it made the national news. And in particular, that President Biden made these statements to call it out. And here's what bothers me about that. From my perspective, on a racial equity lens, we have much bigger fish to fry. And I think part of why this country remains stuck in this cycle of racism that we're in is because we never address the real shit. We are so comfortable dealing with one-on-one interpersonal racism, dealing with one-on-one like racial insults, that we miss the forest for the trees. Like, there needs to be a broader conversation around how political power is distributed in LA County, such that there was that much racial animus that existed in that space. Like, that woman is making those comments from a particular racialized political economic lens. And while it was problematic and unacceptable, there's a deeper issue that really needs to get resolved. And so just being sanctioned, right, taken off the board and silenced because she made these stereotypical harmful comments and leaving it at that's my last nerve. Like, we have to move beyond the individual interpersonal representations of racism as like the most egregious and start having the real conversation that it's really about ongoing context of being depoliticized or disempowered, disenfranchised from a political perspective, the economic, whatever pitfalls there are that are contributing to the need, because really the conversation and all the conversations that were leaked for me really reflect like this scarcity mindset, right? Like like this us against them. And that sort of framing only exists when you really look at systemic and structural racism. And so, yes, bad politics, but can we just have the real conversation? And I get really, really frustrated by that.
I get that. I feel on some level that sometimes we're not focusing on the things we need to focus on. Like as far as racism is concerned, I feel you.
Yes. We got these midterm elections coming up. That's more important to me. Gerrymandering, that's more important to me. Like our ability to represent ourselves, us to continue to have voting rights. And that ain't even all the things. We know that, but those things are way more important to me than her clowning somebody's child. And that's my last nerve for today.
And I think that's a great place to end it off.
We appreciate y'all joining us yet again. We hope you all got something interesting from today's conversation. If you know of any coons at work, you want to share your coon experiences with us, you can always tweet at The Break Room. We're on Twitter. You can also find us through the Living Corporate Network on Instagram. And then as always, you can email us at thebreakroom@living-corporate.com. Boom. Nailed it. First time ever I was able to do it.
You got it. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have a good day, week, month, life.
All the things.
Peace, y'all.
Living Corporate is brought to you by Doximity. Doximity is committed to fostering an inclusive and diverse work environment where differences are valued, practices are equitable, and employees experience a sense of belonging that allows them to bring their full, authentic selves daily. As medicine's largest network, there's an elevated level of responsibility to everything we do. We don't take that responsibility lightly and are committed to working towards a more equitable world inside and beyond our virtual office walls. So if you want to learn more about Doximity, go to your app store and type in DOXIMITY. Again, that's DOXIMITY.